The White House was already under immense pressure, but when a sudden, chaotic event threw the administration...
Well, remember, these countries are very smart. They're headed up by people I know. In almost all cases, they're very smart people, and they're people of great common sense. They're not sending their good people out. They're sending the bad people out, and they put them into caravans. I think I came up with that name, but somebody did. It's a great name, caravan. Thousands and sometimes as many as 30,000 people walking right into our country. Again,
into crisis mode. It triggered a reaction from Donald Trump so intense it left Washington stunned. What was supposed to be a routine...
He won by 5 hours and 14 seconds. It is crazy, and it's so demeaning, and they don't want to change. I see it the other day. Guys like Schumer, our great Palestinian senator, this guy, no, he's changed. He used to like Jewish people. Now he's totally against Jewish people. It's the most incredible transformation I think I've ever seen.
Internal briefings spiraled into a full-blown political explosion, revealing cracks in Trump's immigration stance that even his most loyal allies could no longer defend. The incident didn't just expose policy contradictions, it tore open years of hidden tensions within his camp, with cameras rolling and aides scrambling to manage the fallout. Trump's meltdown became the headline of the week, not just for what he said, but what it revealed about the power struggles behind closed doors. Those present described the atmosphere as frantic. Eyewitnesses report Trump pounding his desk, shouting at senior staffers, and demanding answers about the media leaks that...
Everybody wants to make a deal and have a part of it, right? I know you and Howard and Scott are working overtime, making deals with other countries. Remember a few months ago, the press was saying, do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China. We have everybody. We're not going to make deals with everybody.
That painted him as unprepared and uninformed. While official spokespeople tried to spin the incident as passionate leadership, the truth was far less flattering. This wasn't the Trump from campaign rallies, confident, boisterous, untouchable. This was a man cornered by the very narrative he once used to build his brand, control. In a desperate bid to reclaim the headlines, Trump launched into a televised tirade, doubling down on claims of immigration conspiracies, border sabotage, and blaming everyone from the Biden administration to migrants themselves. But the public wasn't buying it. Not this time. As details of the disaster spread, immigration advocates and legal experts began to weigh in.
In the China deal, we're starting to open up China, things that never really could have happened, and the relationship with every country has been very good. Some were just going to send them a letter, say, thank you very much, you're going to pay 25, 35, 45%. That's the easy way to do it, and my people don't want to do it that way. They want to do some of it, but they want to make more deals than I would do. But we're having some great deals. We have one coming up, maybe with India, very big one, where we're going to open up India.
Emerged was a troubling pattern of intentional misinformation, exaggerated security risks, and a fundamental misunderstanding of how U.S. immigration law actually works. Trump's attempt to weaponize fear backfired dramatically. Rather than portraying strength, he appeared chaotic, angry, and entirely out of touch with the nation's legal framework. His core talking points, the wall, border invasions, and MASS deportations were dissected point by point by immigration analysts, who pointed to data that directly contradicted his claims. For the first time in
Philadelphia, where's Angelina? Where is Angelina? Oh, you are very pretty. I will never say good-looking waitress because looks don't matter anymore, you know, in our modern society. She happened to be beautiful, but I won't say that. I won't mention that. But nevertheless, a waitress came over, and I said, how are you doing? She said, not good, sir. Why? The government is killing me on tips.
In a long while, even right-leaning media hosts struggled to justify the rhetoric. Meanwhile, leaked memos showed internal strife within the Trump team. Senior advisors warned him privately that his approach was alienating suburban voters and causing irreparable damage among independents, but Trump, never one to back down, reportedly brushed off the concerns. Instead,
epidemic that has inundated her small town, our bill provides billions and billions of dollars to stop fentanyl and other illicit narcotics. We're also charging other countries like Mexico, Canada, and China billions of dollars in taxes that we put on because they've allowed people that are selling fentanyl to go through their countries, or in the case of China, they send it here, and paying a lot of money at least, but would rather stop it. I think we're doing a big job of that, but would rather stop it. And other illicit narcotics pouring across the border and stealing more American lives.
Instructing his media team to amplify the spectacle, double the airtime, he allegedly said, make them afraid again. Those 5 words, later leaked by an anonymous source, reignited old debates about Trump's strategy of governing by chaos and distraction. Was it a miscalculation or a deliberate campaign tactic? Either way, the nation was watching closely. In Congress, the situation didn't go unnoticed. Lawmakers across party lines voiced concern about the incident, not just for its tone, but its implications.
And we'll make the Trump tax cuts permanent, expand the child tax credit, and we will deliver no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. It's so good. And we're going to also cut costs. We're cutting $1.7 trillion in this bill, and you're not going to feel any of it. And your Medicaid is left alone. It's left the same. Your Medicare and your Social Security are strengthened. We're not cutting.
Representative Jasmine Crockett called the meltdown a dangerous signal of instability, while others likened it to Nixon-era paranoia. A special session was even proposed to review White House security protocols and emergency response coordination, not because of an external threat, but due to the president's own unpredictable behavior. This marked a chilling first, a legislative review prompted not by national security concerns, but by the fear of what an unhinged president might do.
On the interest that they're paying to buy the car. And people said, what a great idea. It's so simple. It's like the paperclip. Somebody came up with the idea of a paperclip many years ago, 1817, and he became a very rich person. And everybody looked at it and said, why the hell didn't I think of that? But it's like the paperclip, but only if the car is made in America, remember that.
During a crisis. As the dust settled, pundits began comparing this breakdown to earlier moments. In Trump's presidency, the Charlottesville remarks, the Helsinki press conference, the COVID-19 bleach fiasco, but this was different. This time, it wasn't just rhetoric. It was a real-time implosion that pulled back the curtain on how fractured the Trump machine had become. Staff resignations quietly followed. Some longtime aides opted for early retirement, others refused to take media calls altogether. The White House press room remained eerily quiet for nearly 36 hours, a rarity during any administration, let alone Trump's. Back on social media, Trump attempted to reframe the narrative. In a flurry of Truth Social posts, he claimed,
we're going to fully fund the final sections of border wall, impose a new remittance tax on money sent back to foreign countries, and dramatically increase deportations to a bare minimum of 1 million illegal aliens per year. And what we're doing is we're really going after the criminal aliens, of which we have plenty to work with. People say, well, that's a lot, isn't it?
The entire episode was manufactured by the fake news media and accused immigration activists of staging the event to undermine him, but the damage was done. Video clips from the briefing leaked, audio recordings surfaced, and perhaps most damning of all, emails showed that Trump had ignored direct warnings about the consequences of his inflammatory immigration remarks just hours before the disaster occurred. Cable news networks ran panel after panel, legal scholars,
Well, remember, these countries are very smart. They're headed up by people I know. In almost all cases, they're very smart people, and they're people of great common sense. They're not sending their good people out. They're sending the bad people out, and they put them into caravans. I think I came up with that name, but somebody did. It's a great name, a caravan. Thousands and sometimes as many as 30,000 people walking right into our country. Again,
DHS officials and even ex-Trump insiders picked apart every angle. Some argued this was Trump finally being exposed for the unstable force many had feared. Others suggested it was just another blip in a long list of Trumpian controversies that would fade by next week. But the polling told a different story. Overnight tracking showed a sudden drop in Trump's favorability among independents and a 12-point dip in support among Latino voters, a group he had aggressively courted in recent months. Behind closed doors, Republican strategists panicked. The timing couldn't have been worse. With primaries looming and Trump hoping to secure early endorsements, the incident placed GOP leaders in a bind. Some privately encouraged challengers to distance themselves, while others feared Trump's base would retaliate against any.
But why would you allow people to come in that you can look at them and say, big trouble, big trouble? Why would you do it? It's nobody understands. And a lot of people say voting, but we've got to strengthen up our elections because the voting is crooked as hell. Got to strengthen it up. But it's not that. It's either they're stupid and they're not stupid, or they hate our country. But we love our country, and we're going to stop this madness, and we're going to get this bill approved, and
anyone perceived as disloyal. The divide was growing, and it was becoming more and more difficult to paper over. Even longtime allies like Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy offered only lukewarm support, saying they hoped Trump would refocus on the issues that matter. Translation: please stop making this worse. In the days that followed, The immigration topic exploded into a cultural flashpoint. Protesters gathered outside.
And a record number of deportations. We're bringing criminals out by the thousands. Nobody can even imagine. They let people in that were murderers. 11,888 murderers, gang members, people from mental institutions, and insane asylum. You know what that is? That's insane asylum. That's a mental institution on steroids. During the campaign, I talk about the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Do you know who that is, Hannibal Lecter? Silence of the Lambs. I'd talk about it, and the fake news would go crazy. Why does he keep mentioning? Well, because we won in a landslide. That's why they don't want to have Hannibal in our midst.
At federal buildings, civil rights groups held emergency press conferences. Even late-night comedians like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert couldn't resist roasting Trump's outburst, turning it into viral comedy bits that racked up millions of views within hours. The administration, unable to regain control of the story, tried to pivot to law and order messaging, but it was too late. The floodgates had opened, and the narrative had slipped beyond their grasp. And yet, amidst all the chaos, one truth stood out clearly. This wasn't just about immigration. It was about control, perception, and the lengths to which Trump would go to protect his own myth. The myth of a strong, known...
Think of that. People say it's almost impossible. But they come in, and at a minimum, they're not people that work very hard. They're people that are on welfare. They don't want them. They don't want them. They give them to us. It's incredible what's happened, and it's so sad to see. It's so sad. It could make you just sick to your stomach when you think about it. I was going to say it could make you cry, but I like to pretend I never cry.
A nonsense leader who could fix America's problems with one-liners and rallies. The myth that, for a while, had worked. But now, after this disaster, that myth was breaking. Shattered not by political enemies, but by the very spectacle Trump himself created. What happens next remains uncertain. Will the base rally? Will GOP leaders backtrack? Or will this be the moment the country finally sees the cost of spectacle over substance? One thing is clear, the storm has only just begun, and Donald Trump is right in the middle of it. As the immigration firestorm raged, even conservative-leaning newspapers began to raise alarms. Editorial boards that once cautiously endorsed Trump's policies now questioned his mental fitness for leadership. The Wall Street Journal ran a piece titled "Crisis at the Top," suggesting that what the country had witnessed was not merely a communications failure, but a full-blown leadership breakdown. The article cited former staffers who claimed this was the worst they'd ever seen Trump react to internal pressure. One aide described the White House that week as a bunker of fear, where staffers walked on eggshells, terrified of being publicly humiliated for even the slightest misstep. And yet, Trump seemed oblivious.
How you can be progressive when you're turning the country backwards. But no matter what you are, it's all about common sense. And I think that's the way I've ruled. I do what's right. I want to have borders. I don't want to have transgender for anybody that happens to leave the house at a young age, the things they do. I don't want
to the growing panic around him. In a rally held days later, he ranted for nearly 2 hours about globalist plots, open border coups, and how Democrats were sneaking criminals into our country. The language was inflammatory, the tone aggressive, and too many, deeply dangerous. Critics warned that such rhetoric...
We think of that, though. We save, and all you have to do is so simple. I'm explaining to this guy, and Biden extended him. That wasn't good. I'm explaining to him, you can do so much for our country. You could save $1 trillion just with a stroke of a pen. Just the utterance of a sentence that we're going to be cutting. It's a shame. It's a shame. We're one of the highest. We should be the lowest. You know, with the United States of America, we'd have money coming in like at levels that they have never seen.
Rick risked inciting violence, especially in a political climate already simmering with division. Intelligence officials reportedly flagged the speech as a potential domestic extremism amplifier, and several watchdog groups filed urgent requests with the DOJ.
And our country is going to be stronger, bigger, better than ever before. We're going to make it better than ever before, and that's despite the bad hand that we were dealt 6 months ago. We were dealt a really bad hand. We were dealt a sick hand. It's unbelievable. You know, when I came back yesterday, as you know, I made a big trip to a place where we had 28 countries represented, and we did something that's never been done. They've raised the number of money, the amount of money that they've been to $1 trillion a year, and that's for world safety. But they all asked me the same question. They said, how could you have allowed this to happen to your country? I said, I didn't do it. But they said, how could you allow people to pour in? They don't understand it. They all have borders. They have fences, they have walls, or they have just strong people standing there. You can't do it.
To monitor online chatter from radical groups echoing Trump's talking points. In a stunning move, the Department of Homeland Security issued a rare statement clarifying that no mass infiltration of the southern border had occurred. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas calmly explained the actual figures, emphasizing that border encounters had decreased over the past 2 months due to updated cooperation protocols with Mexico and Central America. But the clarification didn't trend. It didn't go viral. What did trend was a 30-second clip of Trump screaming, "They're coming to take over," a soundbite that spread like wildfire across fringe media and Telegram channels. Truth had once again lost to theater. Perhaps the most surreal moment came when Fox News, Trump's longtime media partner, seemed to distance itself slightly from the chaos. Hosts like Brett Baer and Martha McCallum paused their usual support and instead posed real questions about whether Trump's reaction was justified. "This is a turning point," said one contributor off-air. "If we don't start asking hard questions now, we might never get our credibility back." It was a quiet but important shift. Meanwhile, more moderate Republicans began holding private meetings to discuss the possibility of rallying behind a different candidate in the next election cycle, someone with less baggage and fewer meltdowns. Trump, however, appeared to take it all as a badge of honor. In one Truth Social post, he wrote, "The fact they're attacking me just shows I'm the only one telling the truth. They hate that I won't be silenced." But even that bravado couldn't disguise what insiders were now confirming. The former president was rattled. Behind the scenes, there were talks of staff restructuring, new media consultants, and even whispers of a major public relations rebranding effort to recast Trump as a calmer, wiser leader. But such attempts were at odds with the very persona that made him popular in the first place: unfiltered, combative, unpredictable. As Washington braced for the next fallout, immigrants across the country reacted with fear and uncertainty. Hotline calls surged to legal aid organizations. Families asked if they should move.